I'm live. I am reading, or coming to the end of, Prelude to the Landing on Planet Earth. And in fact, the most exciting chapter was the previous chapter, which was about the dematerialization of 2 canisters of poison, which would have poisoned, it would have poisoned everything through the waterways of the Lake of Galilee. Anyway, it dematerialized, and this is actually what this book is about. Preventing World War. This was published in 1977 by Stuart Holroyd, who wrote it. He was attending some of the channeling session with the 9, or the management, and Phyllis Schlemmer was the channel. Sir John Whitmore was a witness, and so was Andrija Puharich, and they all had experienced themselves, and they had known each other in previous lives, which we learned during the course of this book. Chapter 9, Anatomy of a Mystery. To conclude, I propose to discuss a few key questions and make a few observations of the material presented in this book. Let us begin with what is the problem, the most crucial question of all. Who or what is Tom? As I see it, there are 5 possibilities to be taken into consideration. Tom is a pure invention, a creation of Andrija, Phyllis, or John, or of the 3 of them in collusion. 2. Tom is an unconscious invention, and composite, created out of information contained in the minds of the sitters by the well-known mediumistic process of withdrawal of such information. 3. Tom is a secondary personality of Phyllis, endowed with psi abilities that can take over when she is in a dissociated state of consciousness. 4. Tom is a spirit, a discarnate entity with extraordinary powers of invention and cognition. And 5. Tom is what he says he is, an intelligent being from another part of the cosmos. The possibility of fraud and invention can, I think, be quite definitely ruled out on the basis of what we now know of their personalities, of the personalities of John, Andrija, and Phyllis, the manner of their coming together, and their sustained commitment and dedication. Some hyper-skeptical readers may not agree, and some, it occurs to me, may even suspect that I've made the whole thing up. But I think that the majority will agree with me that possibility number 1 can be eliminated. So we are left with 2 parapsychological hypotheses, possibilities 2 and 3, and 2 hypotheses that we may call transcendental, possibilities 4 and 5, all 4 of which will come down to the basic question whether Tom exists independently of the 3 and their shared situation. Let us see what relevant evidence we can marshal from the communications that might throw some light on this question. In view of the complexity of the material and of the problem it poses, the most convenient approach will be to break down and analyze the evidence under a number of subheadings. First subheading, alleged identity and abilities. Tom states repeatedly in the communications that he represents, as spokesman, and is one of the 9 governing principles and powers of the universe. But he insists we are not God. All of you and all of us make God. He is always insistent that man's tendency to worship and deify what he does not understand only inhibits his own and the planet's development. We are not your gods, he says. We do not rule you or control you. We are all one, and we work in harmony with you. Men have conceived God as being omnipotent and omniscient, and according to Tom, this erroneous belief has made the work of the 9 very difficult. Far from being omniscient, they are puzzled by the ways of the world and of men. It is important for us to learn through you of the nature of the physical, says Tom, and again, we cannot do for this planet what this planet must do for itself. But if the abilities of the Nine and their associated civilizations are limited, they are certainly impressive by human standards. They include mind reading, prophecy, materialization and deep materialization, the ability to interfere with the mechanism of motor cars and clocks, to mention but a few. Such alleged abilities, particularly the psychophysical ones that suggest an advanced technology, would argue in favor of possibility number 5, if they could be both consistently demonstrated and proved to be effects with no conceivable natural causes. But the 9, according to Tom, are disinclined to produce signs and wonders to order, for they have tried such structures in the past and have only been deified for their trouble, which annoys them, because it's a man's cooperation and not his worship that they need in order to accomplish their purpose. This is a coherent attitude Tom exhibits. Tom exhibits a robust intelligence and a consistency of purpose and attitude that is suggestive, if not evidential, of his independent existence. As William James remarked, most mediumistic trance utterances have a generic similarity in different individuals and consist of a curious, vague, optimistic philosophy and water, and could have been written by the same author. The Ossining group's communication do not fall into this category. Whoever or whatever Tom is, he is impressively original. But of course, so are the people he is involved with. The question is he original in a different way? One way of approaching this question is to consider how he interrelates with the others. Patterns of relationship is the second heading. Both as a teacher and as a colleague in an undertaking, Tom consistently exhibits superior wisdom, knowledge and psychological insight. He understands the problem the 3 have with their own personalities and in their relations with others, and particularly the problem they have encountered through their involvement with and dedication to the work. He has repeatedly warned them, collectively and individually, of the dangers of excessive zeal. Excessive zeal. When reporting the communications, I have had to be very selective, for in the period covered by this book, there were more than 100 hours of taped material. From that I have selected some passages to bring in at this point, as examples of psychological and moral statement that suggest Tom's independence of mind. Early in the work, Phyllis had marital and family problems as a result of her commitment. And in one communication that she channeled, Tom made a strong statement apropos this. The being is confused. There is within her the essence of truth. But remember, there is also the strong desire to be involved with you. It is true that she is dedicated to what she believes is her dedication, but you do not remove yourself from what you are responsible for without doing it in a manner that does not cause a friction or great hurt to someone else, because you are also responsible for the soul of that person. She cannot run from what she must settle first, before she can be free. John too has on several occasions been admonished for his excessive zeal, which tends to take the form of an intense and unremitting application to the work. We ask you to relax, Tom told him. It does not help your work for you to be intense. It is important that you have some form of what you call relaxation or diversion, such as to turn on your television, to listen to music, or to read, or to walk, or to visit with gentle friends on a different subject. It is important in your physical world to maintain a balance, and you cannot maintain a balance if there is not a diversion. You must relax in order to function at a higher level. This is pertinent advice which shows a shrewd insight into John's character. In another communication, Tom probed deeper and said, "His weakness is a triple weakness. It is a weakness of guilt, and the guilt then creates another problem with Sir John, for he tries to remove his guilt by doing, and then he begins to build up resentment and a feeling of pity for himself. Sir John, what we are trying to say to you is that you strive so hard for balance that you are always unbalanced. And in that situation, those that love you and that you love are the ones that are hurt by you. And when you are in that situation of trying so hard to be balanced, it is when you are easily led astray. You're a paradox, Sir John. At times you are overly generous, and then the goodness that you have done on the one hand, you wipe out with the other. It is your constant attempting to balance. But if you will not try to balance, all of a sudden you will be balanced. Andrija too has received psychoanalysis and pertinent advice about his personal problems from Tom. And I only need refer the reader to his quarrels with Tom over Phyllis when they were in Ankara, and so on the subject of sirens at Ossining in February, to establish the point that by functioning in relation to the three as a teacher and counselor, one might even say as a guru figure, and by exhibiting subtle psychological insight, acumen and wisdom in his role, Tom affords us strong evidence of his independent existence. It would be naive, however, to claim that it is conclusive evidence. In some recorded cases of dual or multiple personality, a secondary personality has shown remarkable insight into the psychology and the primary personality. In the recent and immensely complex case of Sybil Dorset, for example, one of Sybil's 16 other selves was so knowledgeable about the other personalities inhabiting Sybil's body that she was able to help the psychiatrist, Dr. Wilbur, integrating them all into the new Sybil. I know of no case, though, in which a secondary personality has shown wisdom and insight comparable to Tom's in respect of other people, or made so many statements of wide general relevance exhibiting a profound understanding of human life and character, and a consistent moral viewpoint. Let us pass from Tom as teacher to Tom as colleague. There are many passages in the communications that sound, for all the world, like company board meetings, with Tom officiating as chairman. To pursue the analogy, it is as if the company were a holding company, Universe Unlimited, and the meetings concerned primarily, but not exclusively, with the present problems of its subsidiary, Planet Earth. The chairman has long experience of the problems of the subsidiary, which has not only consistently failed to contribute to the growth of the company as a whole, but now is in such a sorry plight that it threatens to cause the company to stagnate or even to have to go into liquidation. On several occasions in the past, the management has invested fresh capital in attempts to raise the level of the subsidiary's productivity, and the chairman can tell you all about these occasions, who was involved in them, what they accomplished at the time, and why they ultimately failed. He knows it all. He was there, and he remembers. But he suffers from one of the drawbacks of top management: inadequate experience in dealing with conditions at shop floor level. and he's bound by the policy of the company not to intervene in the autonomy of subsidiaries, which is why he needs understanding and active colleagues on planet Earth. John feels strongly that the Nine have frequently demonstrated an uncanny understanding of the shop floor level, in spite of their claims to the contrary, claims which, he believes, have been made merely to let us off the hook at times, when we were not able to handle what they were telling us about our own weaknesses. As an example of the board meeting type of session, I would refer the reader to the discussion of the need for a statement of purpose and program. Here, as in many of the communications, we witness a vigorous and intelligent exchange of the views and attitudes of independent minds. There is genuine give and take. A problem is posed, different feelings and opinions with regard to it are aired, and an understanding is reached through the introduction of a point of view not previously entertained, a point of view, moreover, that is recognizably consistent with Tom's general philosophy and ostensible situation. Authentic dialogue and dialectic are frequently to be found in the communications, and it is this fact rather than their information content that poses the biggest challenge to the parapsychological hypothesis. Mental contents are one thing, and mental functions quite another, and when we encounter the latter exercised with versatility, spontaneity, and generic consistency, it is difficult to resist the conviction that we are in the presence of an independent mind. So I think we may say, by way of summary, that in relation to Andrija, John and Phyllis, Tom manifests a superior wisdom and psychological insight in the role of teacher, and an originality and dialectical vigor in the role of colleague that are difficult to reconcile with the view that he is a product of one or more of their own minds. So I make two parts of this anatomy of a mystery and finish here, to continue another time.